What's going on everybody, it's your boy SHADOWxlxHUNTER here, back with another Forza 7 drift tuning video. Today we're going to talk about how to tune a Porsche 911 for drift in order to keep that back end in check so that way you don't get any of that weird weight transfer to the rear and all of a sudden you lose all the front end grip and steering. Our demo car for today is a 2012 Porsche 911 GT2 RS. This thing's awesome. I did a couple upgrades to it. It has about 750 horsepower. It has the Forza Aero package on it. I did do weight reduction too. So it's not stock, but I was drifting this car stock and it does great. So now let's break down the tune a little bit here. Now my tire pressure, whenever I run sport tires, I usually drop the tire pressure down to about 28.5. The gearing I left alone. The alignment is my same standard alignment that I run on almost all my drift cars. Now the roll bars I stiffened up quite a bit actually, because they were about 12 and 8 stock, so I put them up to about 23 and 18. That just helps keep the car a little bit more under control. The springs in the ride height is really where a lot of this comes in, and again same with the dampening too. But let's talk about the springs here. I didn't really move the front at all. I think I stiffened it up a little bit. Now the rear, as you can see, I stiffened it up quite a bit. I added about 300 pounds to the rear for spring rate. What this is going to do is going to kind of prevent the car from squatting down, which is going to prevent the nose from lifting up. This is going to help us keep everything in check and keep the car predictable and kind of help negate some of that weird rear engine Porsche handling characteristics. Now the ride height, my theory here is if you raise the ride height in the rear where all the weight is, it's going to kind of put a little bit more weight up front on the front tires. So I'm kind of trying to use this as a way to balance the car out a little bit more, because I believe this thing's sitting at right about a 40% front and 60% rear weight distribution. So I kind of wanted to get that closer to 50-50, so I raised the rear end up by about an inch over the front. So far it's been working great for me. For the dampening, I kind of used the same thought process as I did for the spring rate. I did increase the rebound stiffness in the front a little bit, but that's not really where we're going to see any benefit. Where we're going to see the most benefit is in the rear tuning here. When the weight loads on the back end of the car and the car starts to squat, by lowering the rebound stiffness on the car, making it a little bit softer in the rear, what that does is allows that rear end to come up a little bit quicker. The stiffer you have your rebound stiffness, the longer it's going to take for that shock to decompress. So by lowering the rebound stiffness a little bit in the rear, it allows us to get that back end up after getting weight put on it. Now for the bump stiffness, I actually increased the rear quite a bit as to also prevent the car from squatting. So in a combination of lowering the rebound stiffness and increasing the bump stiffness, the back end should stay pretty much where it's at. It will obviously still compress and decompress at a normal rate, but this should help keep it a little bit more stiff to keep that weight in control. So with these settings here, it's going to allow us to keep that rear end in check. Now it will still have a pendulum effect when you're transitioning quickly, so you got to watch out for that. And again, it still will have a couple of those odd spots where the road's just right and it's going to catch the car and put it in that weird position where you don't have any front grip. But for the most part, you shouldn't have to worry about that now. 99% of the time, it's going to be spot on. You're going to be having great handling and it's going to be super predictable. So I did all the testing on Prague because it's not a very smooth track. It does have a lot of surface changes, and some of the bridges have a weird crest in them, and some of the hills and stuff have some nice dips in them, and some of the corners have quite a bit of camber to them. So with all this, I thought this would be a great spot to test it. So here is a flying lap of me doing a drift run around Prague. Now, I wasn't necessarily on top of my game. I still made a few mistakes, but you should see that the car handles phenomenally, and I was able to keep it pretty much in control other than my own mistakes. If you guys have any questions for me, leave them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. If you guys liked the video and learned something, give me a thumbs up. If you guys have a specific car you guys want to see a tuning video on, leave it down in the comments below, and maybe I'll pick one or two to do if anybody actually leaves me a comment. And if you guys like my content and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to put out a new video every other day or every 2 days, so there should be new content flowing quite a bit. I am mainly drifting right now, so you'll probably see a lot of drift tuning videos and maybe a lot of drift build showcases. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next video.